Welcome to this segment of the show. I have with me a special guest, the Governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
It's been quite an interesting, will I say, 6 years plus as Governor of Borno State. And before that, you've also had experience in government as commissioner on different 5 portfolios. So you are steeped in government, but what you found as governor was not anything anybody expected, even you.
Honestly, it was a very daunting task, a very frightening challenges. But as the saying goes, if you can't withstand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And leadership comes with prizes we need to pay. And when God saddles you with positions of responsibility in prime moments, we have a moral obligation to rise up to the challenges and provide leadership. But by and large, most of the problems in the North is not unanticipated. There is a direct correlation between poverty and violence. As long as we do not address some core issues of creating jobs for the jobless, of creating a foothold, a workstation for our youth in the 21st century, I'm afraid this is an appetizer of worse things to come. We as leaders, we have that moral obligation to wear our thinking caps and do the right things, create jobs for the people, because once we create jobs, once the youth are engaged, this madness will certainly evaporate. So the Boko Haram crisis is a wake-up call, not only for leaders in the Northeast. There are challenges of youth unemployment all across the length and breadth of this country. It's not peculiar to one sub-region.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a wake-up call for us to really improve on the quality of governance and work for the people. And believe me, this madness will evaporate.
When you were given Governor of the Year, was it 2 years ago, with a few other governors, Oshomole and Amosu, both of them actually said that you were the one who deserved it the most, because it was a period in which everybody thought everything had collapsed in Borno State. And can you walk us through what was going on in your mind? Because I know that even Boko Haram was a few miles away from the State House.
It was quite frightening. At a point in time, they had effectively encircled Maiduguri. All the roads leading to Maiduguri. Maiduguri Biu Road, you couldn't go beyond Delwa. Maiduguri Bama Goza Road, the end of the Nigerian territory was Konduga. Maiduguri Baga Road, nobody could go beyond Gom. The only access road to Maiduguri was the Maiduguri-Kano Road. And even that road was equally subjected to periodic attacks by the Boko Haram. But then leadership comes with a price. And the ultimate price of leadership is for you to sacrifice your life if needs be. And believe me, I was ready. I was prepared. I had written my will.
Really?
Yes, I was ready to pay the supreme price if needs be.
At what time did you write your will?
Well, about 6 months into our tenure, when the political barometer was heating up, when the Boko Haram insurgency was about to reach its crescendo.
When they were hoisting their flags.
All over the place. At a point in time, they overran about 20 to 22 local government areas across the state. So, and in times like this, in moments like this, we should summon the political willpower and the courage to identify fiercely with the people At least I'm surrounded by a forest of policemen. What of the common citizens? 6 million of them. We couldn't abdicate our responsibility to the people. The mere fact that you are around, you are on ground, tends to give a salutary effect to the people. They will say, look, our leader has not run away. Ordinarily, this period of the year is the period for spiritual jamboree by the Nigerian ruling class to Saudi Arabia for the Umrah. I can't go. I won't go. I will never go, because there is no greater Umrah than staying with your people and working for your people. Yes, others in peaceful climate may have the luxury, may enjoy the luxury of going on the spiritual jamboree. But for some of us, it is mightily impossible. In fact, it's almost a crime against humanity for you to leave your people in their times of need, in their hours of despair.
You became even a source of news story to a lot of people from your pronouncements during that time, because you were really nibbling at the ribs of the Jonathan administration, making the point that even the military that we had was inferior in terms of discipline and in terms of equipment compared to that of Boko Haram. And it was a time in which everybody was frightened. How did it affect your relationship with the center?
Well, my relationship with the center was at best frosty, even in the best of times. But I made deliberate efforts to have a cordial relationship for the collective good of our people. And to be fair to former President Jonathan, he's essentially a good man. We have to give it to him. He's essentially a good man, but sometimes I call him an honest simpleton, because he is vulnerable to the antics of the people around him, and assorted crowd of reactionary elements, tribal teen gods, religious fanatics, very backward politicians, retrogressive politicians from the north.
And when you say from the north, you also had your predecessor who was also making things uncomfortable for you.
Certainly, I don't want to mention him, but basically he was one of the people who was largely behind the frosty relationship between President Jonathan and I. But I really don't want to overblock a dead issue. But honestly, the relationship was not the best. And I made efforts severally to meet with the president and to tell him some brutal truth. Because if you have the privilege of gaining access to a leader, it's not the best of options for you to expose your dirty lining in the public square. But I was literally pushed to the wall. I met him on more than 10 occasions. The last time, I was granted only 3 minutes audience. I came all the way from Maiduguri to brief him on the tragedy unfolding in the northeast in Borno. And I was granted 3 minutes audience. And I felt that posterity will judge me harshly if I fail to alert the world to the Nigerian people on the tragedy unfolding. It wasn't an outburst per se. I made those pronouncements with the clearest of conscience and with the highest sense of responsibility. And honestly, it had nothing to do with politics. The Nigerian army were in a very, very bad shape. The morale was low. They were lacking in arms, and most of the arms are even very obsolete. Arms and ammunition that were used during the Civil War, and so on. And the Boko Haram were procuring very, very sophisticated weapons and are putting our military on the run. So I felt compelled to come out to the public square and inform the Nigerian public.
Yeah, that was very interesting. How would you say you put your team together in this period? Because it's one thing for you to be the governor and for you to have your team intact, especially against the backdrop that at one time there was this slamming of a state of emergency.
Well, what happened was that one quality I emphasize, much more than even political affiliation, has to do with competence. One, I made sure that all members of my team are well read, well exposed, and committed to the Borno project, apart from being politicians. In my first cabinet, all the members of my cabinet were graduates except one. I had about 3 or 4 professors in the executive council. That goes to show the quality of people we had. And these are people who went through a lot. One of my commissioners, the Attorney General, was killed in Burma by the Boko Haram. A member of the House of Assembly was equally gunned down in Jere. So many local government chairmen were killed, councillors. So many party apparatchiks who equally fell victim. But honestly, I have to commend them. They were a traumatized lot. They made a lot of sacrifices, some with their own lives. But the greatest sacrifices were made by the people of Borno, who were repeatedly killed. You know, the official figure that is quoted as per the number of people killed by Boko Haram was 20,000 Nigerians. Believe me, up to 100,000 Nigerians were killed. Here I am, getting 24-hour power supply, getting access to pipe-borne water. Probably some of them do not even have the meal, the food to provide for their families. Their businesses have crumbled. I know of several people who are worth hundreds of millions of naira. But Boko Haram has pauperized them.
Wiped everything out.
Everything out. So actually, my sympathy, my heart goes out to them because I am part of the elites. And the Nigerian nation has been quite good to us. We were educated at public expense up to my MSc level. I was a federal government scholar at the University of Ibadan.
Yes.
I was on Borno State government scholarship at the University of Maiduguri.
Now, if we look at the situation now, we discover that you have done some rehabilitation, a lot of road constructions, a lot of schools rehabilitated, estates, homes, and so on. How far along are you in all of this?
Well, my major focus now is to see to the completion of rehabilitation works in Burma. We have so far rebuilt about 10,960 homes in Burma. Burma is the second largest town in Borno after Maiduguri. We have gone up to about 70%, 80% in Goza, and nearly 90% in Damasak. My major focus is within the next 30 to 40 days. I want the people to go back to their homes in Burma, Goza, and Damasak to pick up the pieces of their lives. This issue of life in the IDP camp is not a palatable option. And the truth of the matter is that most of our people want to carry their poverty with dignity. They would rather go back to their homes and eke out a meager existence than for them to live a VIP life in the...
Where they dole out food to them. There's no dignity in that.
There is no dignity in that. And you know, the worst thing is that sooner or later, entitlement complex will creep in. People from the countryside who are used to safeguarding their dignity and humanity are being spoon-fed. Very soon they will expect to be paid ad infinitum.
Exactly. It
And
creates its own problem.
And you know, even now, sir, if you go to most of our IDP camps, they are pregnant with lots of challenges of early child marriages.
Pregnancies.
Yes, early child marriages, prostitution rings,
Yes.
drug issues of drug abuse, gangsterism. And if we allow these IDP camps to remain in existence for the next 1 year,
It become platforms for another set of
problems.
problems.
The biggest IDP camp in the world is the Dadaab refugee camp in northern Kenya that had a population of 300,000 people. The Kenyan government finally summoned the willpower to close down that camp. And what I really want to emphasize is that in all the camps in Maiduguri, the total population in the IDP camps in Maiduguri is a paltry 178,000. And in all the other satellite camps in Dikwa, in Gamborungala, in Bran, in Monguno, in Dambua, in Sabongari, in Kalabilke, the number only 350,000. So the total number of IDPs in the camps in Borno numbers only about 500,000. But the people living within the host community in Maiduguri outnumber those living in the IDP camp by a ratio of 3 to 1 or even 4 to 1. In Maiduguri alone, we have over 1.3 million IDPs living within the host community that are not captured under any umbrella, that are not captured under any safety net. They are tired of paying rent. They have exhausted the patience and resources of the African extended family system, and they really want to go back home. And we intend to provide a very robust platform. Policemen are going back to Burma and Goza. Civil Defense Corps are going. We are mobilizing the civilian JTF, the vigilantes, and the Kesh to provide adequate security within the townships so that the people can live in peace and security and harmony.
Means that there's still a lot of more work to do.
Well,
but you've had some help from international agencies and some from federal government. But it seems that those portions of help still can't muster the huge challenges.
The challenges are humongous. As per the recovery and peace building assessment done by the World Bank in partnership with the European Union and the Presidency, a total number of 956,453 units of houses were destroyed in Borno, making up 30% of the total stock of houses in the state. 5,335 classrooms in 38 secondary schools, in 501 primary schools, and 2 tertiary institutions of learning were destroyed. 665 municipal buildings, government offices, local government secretariats, police stations, 1,630 boreholes, motorized boreholes and hand pumps, 13 ecosystems, 775 power stations and substations were so this is just a tip of the iceberg. And for the international community, especially the international NGOs, they have this fixation on the IDP camps because of the immediate visibility it generates. Yes. We have to look at the immediate, the medium, and the long-term needs of the people. Incidentally, the UN, they are doing a fairly good job. We have to commend them. At least they are helping us to pick our people.
And European Union?
The European Union, they are doing an excellent job. And of the UN agencies, I have to pay special tribute to the IOM, to the World Food Program, to UNICEF, to UNHCR, and UNDP. These are some of the most vibrant of the UN agencies working in Borno. In fact, for the UNHCR, they are even intervening in midterm solutions. UNICEF is providing us with educational tools and health support. But our greatest benefactor to date is the Dangote Foundation.
Interesting.
Alhaji Aliko Dangote, I think we remain eternally indebted to him. He gave us 2 billion naira. And knowing Borno, I told him, sir, we don't need your money. Give us building materials. And he gave us building materials worth 1 billion naira for a start. I said, we don't even need your 2 billion. Give us 1 billion. Let us provide the component of labor, of the roofing sheets and so on. And let's build houses and schools and clinics for you to practically see the outcome of your investment before we go further. But I'm very quite pleased to note that the acting president has intervened decisively as per our food security challenges. Because to me, it's quite embarrassing when the UN agencies and the ICRC and the Norwegian Refugee Committee or the Danish Refugee Committee should be feeding our own people. We are not a pale state, and we are gradually losing our relevance because the very existence of the government is to provide, is to cater to the needs and welfare of the citizens.
Self-esteem.
Yes, but the acting president has done well. He has approved 30,000 metric tons for immediate food intervention in the Northeast. Out of it, he removed politics out of the whole gamut of the equation. He said 50% of those foodstuffs should go to Borno. So there is nothing like pine or any intermediary that will bring up some scandals on the system. It's very transparent. They are using a government vehicle, the NEMA plus the SEMA, to directly reach the people. And he was in Maiduguri.
Yes, it was.
Where he launched the program. And in the healthcare sector, the federal government has equally done well. The Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Polorenshaw, has been there on more than 4 occasions, so pretending to the health needs of the people. But I believe that in the coming weeks and months, we shall get a much more robust, a much more comprehensive response from the federal side towards the reconstruction efforts.
Another thing that happened we have to talk about is the Chibok girls and the situation. You know, we had some of them back and so on. People are wondering about rehabilitation. How do they really get back to society after they have been brought from captivity?
Well, like the first set of Chibok girls that were released were truly in very bad shape, emotionally and physically as well. Captivity, especially in the hands of demented monsters like Boko Haram, is never a palatable option. But the second batch were better taken care of.
Why was that, do you think?
I believe my own gut feeling is that probably with the intermediation of the International Committee of the Red Cross, probably they were given access to the girls prior to their release, and they were providing the food and the condiments for the welfare of the girls. That is my own gut feeling.
I mean, within a short time.
Within a short time.
Made them look better.
Yes. So that's my own gut feeling. And right now, the girls are undergoing psychosocial support and therapy in Abuja. We had about 56 girls that earlier ran away from the Boko Haram. When they were taking them into the Sambisa forest, some of them jumped up the pickup vehicles and so on. So we got about 56 of them. We took them out of that Chibok terrain. There is an NGO, Girl Child Concern, headed by Dr. Meiro Mandra. We partner with her, and she got us some of the best schools you could ever get. I deliberately asked her not to even tell me the name of the school, the names of the schools.
Okay. Why?
For security reasons, because I don't want their security to be compromised. But they are very good private schools, one in Katsina State, the other in Plateau State. The girls are graduating by July. Well, we are going to hold a very big ceremony, and the state government will certainly offer to fund their education further up to the university level. And we didn't make much noise for obvious security considerations. Now that they are going into the real world, of the 56, I think up to 54 are finishing by July. 2 of them sadly said they want to go back home and get married. And you can't compel somebody. We made efforts to persuade them to hang on, that life is going to be better when they are educated, but they insisted that they don't want to be educated. So we are trying to teach them vocational skills, the other two, so that at least they can provide for their families and be worthy citizens.
Now, not long ago, the CAN leader in Borno State said a lot of good things about you, about inter-religious harmony and the roles you played in bringing them together, and even in the IDPs and so on. Can you speak to that?
Well, leadership requires you to live above board. No leader was appointed by the boss of his own ethnic kinsmen or by those with whom they profess the same faith. And in this country, sir, if we are as religious as we are pretending to be, this country could not be in this mess. Religion has become a body of rituals devoid of practical value. We have God on our lips and table in our hearts. And the Christians in Borno, they are our brothers and sisters. They were born, bred, buttered, and toasted right in the heart of Borno. Are we going to barbecue them? Are we going to drive them into the lecture? We have a moral obligation to provide a level playing field. This is why I made deliberate efforts, affirmative action, to see that in every initiative, we make sure that the Christian community, not even the Christian community, I don't even subscribe to this notion of settlers and so on, non-indigens and so on. We have a very vibrant Igbo community in Maiduguri. One of my special advisors on community relations is an Igbo man from Anambra State. One of my senior special assistants, the closest to me, one of my closest senior special assistants, is an Urobo man.
Really?
Yes. And he was born, bred, buttered, and toasted right in the heart of Maiduguri. He speaks Hausa better than I do. So I believe that we have to run an inclusive government if we want people to have a sense of belonging and to contribute their quota to the development of our state. And in Borno, especially in southern Borno, most families are a mix-up. You will find Muslims and Christians
in the same family.
In the same family.
Husband and wife in the same family.
Professing different faiths. The CAN chairman, Bishop Mohammed Naga, is from a Muslim family.
Yes,
his father is a Muslim.
He's a CAN man.
Yes, he's the CAN chairman.
He has Mohammed.
You know, and he has Mohammed.
Yeah.
The previous, his predecessor, his father is a Muslim, so also is his mother. And it might interest you. In his house, where his father stays, there is provision of a Muslim prayer rock and all other accessories for his father to practice his religion. And most importantly, let us admit that the Boko Haram came out of the Muslim fold. They never came out of the Christian faith. And they went about on a burning spree, burning churches and mosques. But I felt compelled to review all the churches destroyed by Boko Haram in southern Borno. Was it their own fault? These are people who are even in the best of times, the poorest of the poor. They saved over a period of 5 years, 10 years to build a place of worship. And these lunatics came and burned those places of worship. So we have You know, leadership, I believe, requires fairness, requires justice, requires equity, requires inclusivity, and whatever price, believe me, at whatever price, I am willing to provide fair, inclusive, transparent leadership in the state.
As the leader of the Northern Governors Forum, one of the significant moments was recently when you issued a strongly worded statement against the Kashim Shettima's group asking the Igbos to leave. And after that, there was some, what do you call it, some video put aboard the internet about you and Amosun making some incendiary statements and so on and so forth. Can you speak to the irony and the paradox of that?
Well, you know, I know the consequences of unveiling a masquerade. I knew that I would be subjected to the most vitriolic of attacks for taking a principled stand on issues. They have no right to give quick notice to Nigerians in Nigeria. And some of the missing elements in our leadership equation in this country has to do with lack of clarity of vision and the tenacity of purpose. Tenacity of purpose, of saying the right things, of doing the right things at whatever price. They came out with that emotion video. I'm not so lowly that I could call Governor Emotion Kule, you know, or so gullible to be. And it wasn't me. This was concocted about 2 years ago. Nobody listened to them. They hibernated, it went into hibernation. They resurrected it and gave it a new life and make it look as if it was a recent conversation. It wasn't even a conversation. I couldn't bring myself to call any of my colleagues by their first name. Kule, Kule. This gentleman is much older than me. Yes. I have tremendous respect for his persona, for his integrity, for his personality. And I just, you know, some of our people are quite gullible. But the discernible minds really read in between.
Even people who are close to me, don't call him Kule.
Yes. You know, Kule. And the person, that Phantom Shettima was even speaking faster than my normal pace of, and you know, it has that Yola accent, that Fulani accent. Yes. I don't speak with a Fulani accent. I am a Kanuri man. I am the master to the Fulani. So it was quite amazing, you know. I just love it. And they came out with another one earlier on, insulting my person and Governor Eropai. This morning they came out with another one. But you know, I have developed thick skin to all these insults.
Shenka calls them the millipedes of the internet. Some of them are not millipedes. Some of them are actually sponsored.
Certainly. This one, all these attacks on me, on Governor Eropai, yes, and Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal and so on, were deliberately sponsored by people with inordinate ambitions to rule this country at whatever cost. And it's so sad. It's very sad.
Now, to conclude, as to the two personal ones, you started as a lecturer. Do you one day think of going back to teach in the Ivory Tower?
Honestly, I am nursing that dream. I really want to go back to the Ivory Tower. I have not completed my PhD. I'm a very ambitious person. I want to learn French.
Really?
Yes, I want to learn Arabic. And if possible, Mandarin. Because these are the languages of the future. Yes, and I'm nursing that ambition, honestly, on a more serious note, because it gives you a lot of freedom. And knowledge is just like manure. If you stockpile it, it smells like hell. If you spread it around, it enriches the soil, and you will get bountiful harvest. Whatever that one was able to garner in governance, one can easily impart to the younger ones coming up, to build in them the Nigerian spirit, for them to believe in the Nigeria project. Yeah, yes, I'm certainly having that dream, sir.
Among other dreams, because you're still a young man, so many things you can do for this country. Now, the last question I want to ask has to do with a story that was in the newspaper one time. When you were working, you used to work in Lagos, and one time you visited Lagos and you went to Buka with your cabinet and so on, and one of our columnists described you as the governor of the year for doing that, and so on. Tell me about your connection with Lagos and the people, the people around the city.
You know, I have an emotional bond with Lagos. This is why I started my banking career, and I'm very much attached to Lagos, to the Lagos spirit, of the incorrigible Lagos spirit of never saying no, the indomitable will of the Lagos man to excel at whatever cost. And even now, before I get to the airport, I will branch through and say hi to the lady. We upon that bond, that friendship, since 1993. It's in Onibombo. I used to work in Maryland, in Northern Maryland, in Ikeja, along Allen Avenue or Shoppe Plaza. Yeah. So anytime I close from work, I used to briefly by back at her place and eat my dinner before going home. That was when we struck up that relationship. Okay. And I felt, you know, it's nostalgic to identify with your roots, no matter how humble they might be. Yes. It's not all about being born with silver spoon or diamond spoon. The truth is that all of us struggle through life. And a lot of us tend to shy away from identifying fiercely with people that we grew up with. So this is why even as I'm on my way to the airport now, I will briefly stop over at her place and exchange pleasantries before. It's Ramadan. Obviously, we cannot eat during the daytime, but I will still greet her. She's where we do exchange phone calls once in a while. And I think there is also another lady at Elupeju. Okay. I have two women from whom I used to eat. All are mama put, you know.
Yes, mama put, that's what they say.
Yes, and they are very, very delicious meals, you know.
All right. So on that note, I say thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Wish you greater success in your execution of your projects in Borno State.
Thank you so much.
And we've had on this show a special guest, Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the show today. Join me next week for another edition of the program. And until then, be good.